Here's what nobody tells you about premium pricing. The problem isn't your offer. It's that you're talking to people who could never afford you in the first place. And I just got off a call with a brilliant consultant, 20 years in her field, multiple certifications, genuinely exceptional at what she does. But she's exhausted because she's been trying to educate the market about why her premium pricing is justified. And here's what I told her. You don't have an education problem. You have an audience problem. And last month at a mastermind I was attending with some 7 and 8 figure thought leaders, someone said to me something that made the entire room go quiet. I stopped trying to convince people that I'm worth it. And I started talking exclusively to people who already know what premium looks like. That one sentence, it's the difference between explanation fatigue and having a waitlist. Because here is what's actually happening in your business right now. You've built incredible IP. You've got the credentials, the testimonials, the frameworks that genuinely transform lives. But you're spending 80% of your sales conversations justifying yourself, defending your value, explaining why you're not like the $97 course they saw over on Instagram. You're attracting people who are impressed by you, who think that you're brilliant, who would love to work with you someday when they can afford it. Sound familiar? So this is the trap of what I call the poor niche. Not because the people in it lack character or potential, but because they literally cannot write the check for what you're worth. They are not your people. They never were your people. And every minute you spend talking to them is another minute that you're not visible to the right people who would pay you $50,000 without a second thought. Think about that today. And here's what's shifted for one of my clients, a leadership consultant she was stuck around that $280,000 mark, drowning in discovery calls that went nowhere. We didn't change her offer. We changed who she was talking to. Within 90 days, $605,000 pipeline for the month, 2 VIP intensives booked in. She stopped doing discovery calls entirely because the right people just started reaching out. Another client with decades of experience shifted from talking to emerging leaders on hundreds of discovery calls with middle management to only talking exclusively to CEOs managing $10 million exits. Same expertise, different room. So this isn't about being elitist. This is about being seen by the people who already understand the value of what you do. The ones who aren't shopping on price. The ones who don't need convincing. No guesswork, no spray and pray marketing. Just strategic clarity about who you are actually for. So let me talk you through the rich niche reality check. This is the systematic approach that I use with every client to shift from attracting browsers to attracting buyers. So step 1 is to acknowledge the painful truth. You cannot serve everyone and be exceptionally compensated. You just can't. The market doesn't work that way. Premium pricing requires premium positioning. Premium positioning requires ruthless specificity about the shoe. And most established experts resist this because it feels like you're leaving money on the table. You're not. You're leaving the wrong money on the table so that you can make room for the right money. Step number 2 is to identify your wealth markers. This is where most people get it wrong. They niche by industry or problem. I help women entrepreneurs, or I help people with imposter syndrome. That's not a rich niche. That's barely a niche. Okay, and a rich niche has built-in wealth markers. Signals that tell you that this person can afford premium. Things like in a business niche, they already have a team. They're managing multi-6, 7, 8-figure revenue. They've exited before. They speak at industry conferences. They've worked with other high-level consultants. In a non-ROI niche, an example would be that they have been to all of the retreats. They have spent time away recalibrating at their Aspen home. We're separating the wheat from the chaff before they ever even hit your system. Step number 3 is to reverse your messaging. And here's the shift. Stop trying to convince people that they need premium support, and instead start speaking the language of people who already know that they need it. Instead of saying, here's why investing in yourself really matters, which is what you say to the poor niche, you want to say things like, if you're managing a $3 million business that should be a $10 million business, you already know that the bottleneck is you. See the difference? One is persuasion, one is recognition. And people with money don't need to be persuaded to spend it. They need to recognize that you understand their specific caliber of problem. Now, step 4 is to make your qualifying criteria visible. This is the piece that makes people nervous, but it's non-negotiable. You need to say the quiet part out loud. I work with established experts who are already earning multiple six figures. My clients typically manage a team of 5 people, for example. This is designed for people who have already proven their methodology. We're just building the infrastructure around it. Does this disqualify some people? Yes, that's exactly the point. You're not being exclusive for ego. You're being exclusive for effectiveness. Because trying to serve someone who isn't ready is a disservice to both of you. Step number 5, redesign your rich niche magnet. Your lead magnet right now, probably designed to help everybody. Probably some sort of PDF thing, which means it's specifically compelling to no one. And the only people reading that thing are those who need to read it for free to get free information. A rich niche magnet isn't helpful. It's diagnostic. It's a tool that resonates with people operating at a certain level. Like an assessment that asks questions like their current annual revenue, how many team members do you manage, what's your average client engagement value? Or for non-ROI niches, like relationships or wellness, for example, you could be asking questions around, do they have household staff or a personal assistant? When you travel, do you fly first class or economy? Okay, have you worked with multiple specialists before, or are you still in the DIY phase? How quickly do you make decisions when you find the right expert? These aren't demographic questions. These are wealth markers. They reveal lifestyle, decision-making speed, and investment psychology. And they let the right people self-identify, whilst the wrong people self-select out. Now, step number 6 is create water in the pipes. This is my term for having a systematic lead generation process that only attracts platinum leads. Not more leads, not even good leads, platinum leads. The ones who can sign today if it's the right fit. And that means content that speaks exclusively to your rich niche. Outreach that targets their specific watering holes. Positioning that makes you visible in the rooms that they are already in. And when somebody who's, for example, managed $50 million in exits, and they see your content, if that's what you do, they should think, finally, someone who gets it. Everybody else should think, that's not for me. That's not a bug. That's the feature. And I had a client, a business strategist, brilliant mind, totally under-monetized. And she was attracting these solopreneurs trying to hit their first 100K. And we did this rich niche reality check, shifted everything to speak to executive managing corporate innovation budgets. Didn't change her expertise. We just changed her language and her visibility strategy. And here's what she told me was the real win. I'm not explaining myself anymore. They just get it. And that's what happens when you replace chaos with infrastructure. When you stop trying to be everything to everyone and become a category of one to the right someone. This is systematic. This is repeatable. And it works for every established expert that I've worked with who's been willing to make that shift. So imagine this, instead of spending hours on discovery calls with people who are really interested but need to think about it, you're having 20-minute conversations with people who are ready to move forward. Instead of defending your pricing, you're having strategic conversations about scope and timing. Instead of being one of many options that they are considering, you're the only person who makes sense for what they're trying to achieve. This is the shift from being respected but replaceable to becoming completely unforgettable. From explaining your value to demonstrating your authority, just who you choose to work with. And it starts with getting ruthlessly clear about your rich niche. Not who you could help, who you're actually for. Now, we are taking on 3 new clients this quarter. We're already booked through December, and that's it. So I am looking for established experts, people who are already earning multiple 6 figures, who have brilliant IP that deserves better infrastructure around it. People who are done explaining themselves and who are ready to be seen by the caliber of client who just gets it. And if you're sitting on exceptional expertise, but you're attracting the wrong audience, I'd love to have a diagnostic conversation. Not a sales call, but a strategic discussion about where the disconnect is happening and whether we could be the right fit to work together. Now, these are not small engagements, but if you're operating at the level where to you it's an investment rather than a gamble, you already know that this conversation is for you. So click the link down below in the description. There's a link there to an application. Answer a couple of questions. Do give it your absolute best attempt. And I'm looking for the right fit, not just anyone. So where are you with your rich niche right now? Are you attracting browsers or buyers? Drop a comment down below because I read every single one. And I've spent years building the only systematic approach to thought leadership diagnostics that exists. This isn't theory for me. It's infrastructure that I've proven with 7, 8, and 9-figure experts who have nowhere else to turn. If you're ready to become that category of 1 in your space, I'm going to show you exactly how.